very warm good morning to you. Welcome to Liverpool's Albert Dock. My name is Richard Madeley, and this is my wife, Judy Finnigan.
Hello.
And this morning, and every weekday morning, we invite you to join us for a brand new show.
We're on the air live for 90 minutes, and we hope you'll join us because we've got something for all the family. We're looking at food and drink and shopping. We've got all the latest fashions and beauty tips, and we'll be showing you how you can bring a designer look into your home cheaply and simply. What else, Richard?
Well, we've got all sorts of information and ideas. We've got family finance, how to get the best out of credit, and the latest tips from our own city desk. We'll also be looking at family life, childcare, pregnancy, the choices and the dilemmas that face today's parents.
And every day there'll be a famous face dropping in for coffee at around 11:30. Today I'm meeting Paul Nicholas, and tomorrow Barbara Dixon will join us with her little boy, and I actually think she's expecting another, isn't she?
Yes, but not necessarily a boy. Anyway, we also want to involve you in the programme. We'll be inviting you to take part in all kinds of things, and we want your views on what we discuss. Now, earlier, as you might have seen, the time and the place looked at childcare, and that's the subject of our phone-in today. We'd like to hear what you think about working mothers. Not that mothers don't work hard enough anyway, but, you know, women who continue a career with a family.
Well, we're working parents ourselves. We've got 4 children, and we both have mixed feelings on the subject, but we'd really like to hear what you think. And the number to ring us on is 051 555 1000. That's 051 555 1000.
Yes, please do ring us right away, because we really do want to know exactly what you think about what is quite a contentious subject there. Now, if you're able to watch this morning over the weeks, indeed the months to come, we're on the air for 9 months, you know, you'll find that we've persuaded a great team of people to give us information about all these things, including our own family doctor, Dr. Chris Steele. Now, he's going to be here every week to advise us all, us as well, on medical matters.
As he would testify, we spend an awful lot of time at his surgery, but that's because we've got so many kids. We've got 11-year-old twin boys, a 2-year-old son, and a 14-month-old daughter, Chloe. In fact, we took Chloe to Dr. Steele's surgery first thing this morning. She was going to have a brand new vaccination, which is launched today. It's a triple vaccine against measles, mumps, and rubella. That's German measles, of course. Now, although those are all very common childhood illnesses, they are in fact all illnesses that can cause a lot of problems. And so, after a little bit of thought, we decided Chloe should have it. But as often happens with children, things didn't go quite according to plan.
Come in.
Hello.
Hello, Judy.
Hi.
Sit down.
Yeah, I've brought Chloe along for this vaccination. She's 14 months old, and normally I would be bringing her along round about now for her measles jab, so she's having this instead.
That's right. It's going to replace the measles vaccine totally. So instead of giving Chloe her measles vaccine now, we'll give her the new vaccine, which will give her protection against measles, mumps, and German measles.
Okay. Can we get ready?
I don't like the sound of the cough. Has she had a cough?
Well, actually, she's had quite a bad cold. I did think she was over it, but she has still got a bit of chest in her.
No, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to vaccinate her today, because one of the reasons why we can't give this vaccine if the child has a fever or the child has what we call a respiratory tract infection, a chest infection. So I'm afraid we're going to have to postpone her vaccine until she gets over this mild condition that she has now.
Right, well, I mean, fair enough. If she had it when she was a bit poorly, would that make her even worse?
Well, there's a slight reaction in some children from the vaccine that they can develop a slight fever, a slight rash, almost like a measles rash, usually about 7 days after receiving the vaccine. And so we don't want to make her slightly more ill than she is at present. So it's far better if she is in good health when she receives the vaccine. So I would suggest maybe we just postpone this for about 10 to 14 days, and then you bring her back to see me.
Okay, Chloe, thought you were about to make history. All right then, Chris. Well, I'll make another appointment for her in about a fortnight when this infection's cleared up. And next time we'll see you on Thursday, won't we?
Okay, that's right.
See you Thursday.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Go.
Oh, Stephanie, come in, have a sit down.
Thank you.
Now we've got Matthew here.
Yes, we've got Matthew today.
And what's the problem?
Well, I've heard about this new vaccine that's
Yes.
coming out, and I wondered if it would be suitable for Matthew.
This vaccine is not new to the world, it's new to this country, but it has been used in North America and Europe, and millions of children have received the vaccine. So we'll give Matthew his vaccine. We'll need to have his his clothes off there so I can give him the injection.
Do you guys have it in the arm like that?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about where we should give these vaccines. We can give them in the upper arm, the bottom or the thigh, but it has been suggested that the thigh or the bottom are probably the better areas. So I'd like to give him a vaccine in his thigh.
That's fine, that's very heavy glasses.
Okay, right, so we've got to give one little vaccine into the side of his thigh. So if you can keep Matthew steady there, Mum.
Yeah.
And just one little pinprick and into the leg, under the skin. There's a good boy, look at that. No disturbance whatsoever. Excellent. And just to make it better, one little plaster, put it on his leg. There we are. There's a good boy. Excellent. Okay, so much for the triple vaccine. Now, this Thursday, as the GP to the This Morning programme, I'll be dealing with a problem that's extremely common in this country, the problem of back pain, the commonest cause of days off work in this country. And every Thursday thereafter, I'll be here to talk about medical problems that are of interest to yourselves and to myself. So until Thursday next, goodbye.
I can tell you, you're going to like Chris Steele. He's our doctor and he's a terrific guy and he's going to be a great success, I'm sure, on the programme. But what about Matthew? What a hero. Not a whimper when the needle went in. Well, I'm glad to say that Matthew is absolutely fine. No after effects from the vaccination whatsoever. Now, if you find that you can't get hold of the vaccine, and there are some reported shortages at the moment, don't worry, because we are assured that supplies are on their way. And as soon as our Chloe has got rid of her cold, she's going to be inoculated as well. Right, well, that's enough of health matters. And now, as they say, for something completely different.
Knickers, 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 and boxer shorts. Boxer shorts.
The way front.
Knickers.
Yes, absolutely, knickers. Now, believe it or not, knickers is the buzzword in the fashion business these days. They used to be very boring, didn't they? But no longer. We're all buying them in enormous quantities. The more frilly and frothy and silky and luxurious, the better. There's an awful lot of money to be made out of knickers. And as our reporter, Dilly Bramo here, is quite keen on them, you went on their trail.
I love them.
I'm not going to ask you about your underpants.
Don't do that, whatever you do. Come with me. I went out on the streets of Manchester earlier on this week and, in fact, I was lucky not to get a broken nose with some of the questions I was asking. Come and meet Tony Hodges, who is the managing director for Charnos Lingerie, and Dorothy Rodan, who happens to be the manageress of La Belle Époque shop, who sells them as well. Tony, as a man, what does your wife think about you being into women's underwear?
Well, I know what you mean, but I've been in it for quite a while, and she's thrilled I'm getting so much fun. I'm getting paid for it, and I've got a hell of a mortgage to pay.
But knickers, aren't they basically just the same old thing?
Well, the world's changing. The world is changing. It used to be the underwear business. Now it's the under-fashion lingerie business, and its excitement prevails.
You hear of designers like Bruce Oldfield designing underwear now, but I thought they were really into dresses.
Well, Bruce Oldfield certainly is very much into dresses, and I think he stands alone among British designers as both a celebrity and a talent. But his word is synonymous with glamour, if anything, and glamour is not just what you see, it's what you feel, and I think glamour comes from within.
Any particular designs or colours that associate themselves with the time of the year at all?
Well, of course, autumn, we're moving very fast into the black season, and where traditionally all the blokes buy the black and the women return it in the new year. That's happening less now because I think colours are very much part of the lingerie scene. Black, red is very important. There's a whole new exciting underwear story to tell.
If I may go to Dorothy now. Dorothy, what type of people come in to buy them?
Well, a typical customer, I would say, is male. And the problem with this is most males don't know their other half sizes. So what I'm thankful for is the introduction of these body shapers, which are versatile in the sense that they'll fit a small lady and they'll also adapt to a larger figure.
That's absolutely marvellous. Now, Tony, I know that you've got something a little bit special for us.
This you've got to see.
Okay.
The World Gold Council have been promoting gold, come up with a rather nice idea, which is the ultimate suspender belt, which is a solid gold suspender clip. You can buy this for just £100 or so.
So, gents, if you haven't already bought a Christmas present for your wife this year, this is the thing to buy, just to prove that she's just that little bit more beautiful than she is anyway. Go on, buy it for her. She's worth it. Have a look at that. Solid gold.
Go on, show us yours.
A, you've already seen them this morning.
This is true.
And B, you're not going to.
They're not worth
All right,
looking at.
thank you very much. We're going to take a break now, but please don't go away. We've got lots more coming up, including a fascinating look at the world of British interior design. We're going to a £1 million flat. It's a £1 million flat, and it really is going to take your breath away in about 20 minutes.
And I'm going to be talking to Paul Nicholas. Remember Just Good Friends and Bust? And he's a brilliant singer as well. Lucky me. See you in a minute.
See you soon.
Bye. Now, for any of you who were watching The Time, the Place earlier, this is the time when we give you your chance to express your views about working mothers. And if you've actually got children yourself, I'm sure you're going to have some very strong opinions. Should we all be at home bringing up our children ourselves? Or is it damaging for a child to be cared for by a nanny, a childminder, or a relative? Now, I'm a working mother myself, and I think it is an incredibly difficult area to come to terms with. So after you've seen our next film, we would like to hear from you, please. Give us a ring live on 051 555 1000. That's 051 555 1000. And tell us, please, what you think. But first, here are 4 very different views from women who have faced that problem.
My view of people who want children in careers is that I just don't agree with it. The only time I would agree with it is if one-parent families and financially people need to go out to work. There's a definite reason for it, then fair enough. But to me, anybody that, considers having a family and considers keeping on a full-time career at the same time, it's not right.
Like thousands of women, Sheila Holmes works part-time. She's a nurse and works only when her husband can be at home with the children.
I usually work between 10 to 13 hours a week. I work evenings or weekend mornings when my husband's at home to look after the children. I didn't have children to palm them off onto somebody else.
Oh, that's a clever girl. You landed with us.
Why have children? It's as easy as that. Why have children? If your job gives you so much enjoyment that you can't give it up, then why have children? When you have a baby, you're told the baby fits in with your way of life and everything goes on as the same and the baby just fits in. It's a load of rot. As soon as that baby comes in through the front door, that's it, and your whole life changes. Your whole world goes upside down and your whole life revolves around your children. So to me, if somebody's working full-time, has a full-time career, their children are the part-time people in the whole situation, and I just don't think it's right.
It's your turn.
Dorothy Eggleston fully expected to continue her teaching career after baby Charlotte was born.
I was appalled by the whole idea, the staying at home with a child, not going out to work. I couldn't conceive of me in that role. It was totally abhorrent to me, and I just couldn't understand people doing it. But you change so much when you've had a child, and I couldn't have said beforehand. Well, I did say I would go back to work, but it isn't until you've had a child that you realise how you're going to feel about leaving that child behind.
Have a fast little bit. I'd rather have your fingers.
Well, I was due to go back to work 2 weeks ago, and I'd only would have to have worked for the last half term, which I think was 6 or 7 weeks, and it would have been the summer holidays, and with me being a teacher, I would have got summer holiday pay, and I could have resigned from September. I mean, it couldn't have been more ideal. But would you believe I couldn't even go back for that short 6 or 7 week period? I just couldn't even leave her for that length of time. So, in fact, I had to repay the 12 weeks half pay of the maternity allowance.
What is it? You can have a chew.
To say it's devastated my life would, in fact, not be an understatement. I've lost my job, or if you want to put it like that, well, I've certainly resigned. So that means I'm closeted in the house, as it were, whereas I used to go out every day. From a financial aspect, it's altered my life completely, because I was equal to my husband in salary terms. I now no longer have a salary, I have child benefit, which doesn't really compare. And the fact that you just don't have any time to yourself, I have found that incredibly difficult to come to terms with. The fact that I taught a class of 30 children for 12 years, and well, it was hard work, but it was something I could cope with. Yet looking after one baby is far, far harder work than teaching ever was. I have felt devalued. Say somebody says, what do you do? I would hate to have to say that I was a housewife or even a mother, which is awful because I know it's a marvellous job, but I much preferred to say I was a teacher than to say I was a housewife and mother. So
the sweaters are £95 and the skirts are £35.
Sharon Griffiths is a freelance journalist with 2 sons. One is now at school, but she almost always takes the youngest with her when she goes out to work. She reports on a variety of subjects, including fashion.
Well, I think children should be a part of the adult world. We've got to the stage where you have a home life and a work life, and people think the world will end if you mix the two. Well, I think that's ridiculous, really. Most people are quite nice about it. In fact, everybody's quite nice about it. Sometimes they're a bit surprised. I say, oh, I've brought a cub reporter along, and they're sort of quite amused. They sometimes rush around and get some glass of orange juice and biscuits. Usually, as long as he sits there quietly in the corner, they just ignore him in the nicest possible way. And it's fine, we can just get on with the work. Now I look back to my childhood, and my mother worked in a post office. And I used to go and sit and play under the counter with the mail bags and bits of old stamp edging, things like that. I remember cleaners coming with their children in tow. The painter and decorator, much more. People used to take their children with them. We don't do this anymore, and I think we could. I'm not saying that you should have a creche in every office or, babies crawling round, but I think that a child should be accepted in an office maybe for an hour after school, as long as they're reasonably well behaved.
Anne Noble was a single parent and returned to work full-time when Lorna was a small baby. Employed by the local authority, Anne found a place for Lorna in one of their nurseries.
When I returned to work, Lorna was 10 weeks old, and I chose to return to work because I was desperate to get back. After 10 weeks of being at home with a young child, I realised that that sort of life wasn't for me. I was very interested in my job. I enjoy it very much, and I wanted to get back. I wanted to have a bit of both types of life.
When Lorna was 2, Anne moved north to a new job. She managed to find Lorna a place in a nearby private nursery.
When I actually moved to Darlington, and Lorna started going to the nursery, which was almost immediately because I didn't have any leave time in between, it was very traumatic. Lorna didn't take to it at all. Every morning when I left her, she was crying and screaming, kicking on the floor, shouting "Mummy," and I was absolutely, I just didn't know what to do. I felt dreadful having to get into the car and drive away, leaving my child in that state. Now, Auntie Jill at the nursery assured me that I had only been away 5 minutes when Lorna was perfectly all right. But what I left the nursery with every morning was that image of my child in tears and crying "Mummy." And I spent all day at work thinking about that. And I found that very difficult.
That's very good now, isn't it?
I was seeing my child in pain emotionally, and I found that difficult. I felt I was hurting her. However, I'm pleased to say that, as everyone had told me, after 4 weeks, she really settled down. And in fact, she would be standing at the front door after breakfast with her bag, waiting to go to nursery, saying, "Come on, Mummy, it's time to go now." So it did all work out well in the end, but that was a very difficult time for me. As part of my work, I have to often visit community groups or voluntary groups, or perhaps a community nursery or a creche. And when I do that and I see other children there, I do feel a pang, but especially if I hear a child crying in any of these situations, it just hits me in the stomach. I feel that could be my child crying and I'm not there to comfort her. So I think it's better for me to be in the office in a way because it's a secure environment for me and I don't get these guilt feelings. But it's all part of being a working mum.
Guilt is a common feeling for working mothers, and post-war ideas about maternal deprivation still cause unnecessary anxiety.
There's a lot of research that has compared children of working parents with children of non-working parents. And by and large, these studies are quite unanimous in what they found, namely that normally there's absolutely no difference between these two groups. In other words, there is no reason whatsoever to suggest that the mother being out for a few hours a day does necessarily any harm at all, because what matters, after all, is not the quantity, but rather the quality of the relationship. At the same time, there are two provisos here that one has to enter. And the first is that it all depends on the constancy of the arrangements, the substitute arrangements that are made while the mother is away at work. In other words, if the child on a Monday goes to that neighbor and on a Tuesday to that neighbor and on a Wednesday, well, heaven knows what, but we'll think of something in due course, the child simply gets confused and insecure. That's one proviso. And the other proviso is that the quality of that substitute care has to be good. Now, it's extraordinarily difficult to define what one means by good quality care. But when one sees bad quality care, my goodness, one recognizes it.
Finding good quality childcare is a problem for an increasing number of parents who wish to study, train, or return to work. In the coming weeks, we'll look at what's available, from childminder to nanny, and from nursery to out-of-school care. And we'll hear from those who want to see an improvement in the current provision.
Well, like I said, people have very strong views, and if you're a mother, you must have an opinion. So please call us on 051 555 1000 and take part in the first live This Morning phone-in. Tell us what you think of mothers who, like me, combine their careers with bringing up a family. Well, next week in this series, we'll be looking at how childcare facilities for the under-5s vary according to where you live, and very unfair it is. There'll be a booklet available to accompany the series, which will cover the points raised each week. So write to us to reserve your copy, and closing please 2 second-class stamps, that's 28p in all, at this address. It's Childcare, PO Box 300, Liverpool, L69 3NR.
Right. And I'm looking forward to the phone-in this morning. We should get some pretty good calls, some good discussion going. But we're going to take a very short break now. But don't go away. In a couple of minutes, a guided tour around a £1 million dream home. And get this, I'm told, they swear that we could all create exactly the same thing in our own homes. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to This Morning. Now, there are some houses that people like you and me should never enter, you know the kind. The ones where the owners have impeccable taste, impossibly beautiful things, and where untidiness seems to be a dirty word. Or perhaps you've looked longingly at those wonderful homes in the glossy magazines and been at a total loss, like us, as to how it's actually achieved. Well, in the coming months, This Morning is going to be stepping into the homes of stars and top interior designers and showing all of us how some of the effects can be copied in your homes, cheaply and easily. Sounds too good to be true. Our own designer is Moira Bremner. She's going to take us around what must be now one of the most tasteful properties in Britain. So here's Moira.
We've come to see a completely new development in raising money for charity. In London, at 44 Egerton Gardens, a luxury flat has just been converted, and 7 different designers have done the interior design, each of them doing a different room. It's going to be sold to raise money for the Muscular Dystrophy Group. And if any of you happen to have a cool £1 million, this could just be the flat for you. So let's take a look at it, shall we? Right, well, of course, the first room that we're coming to in this beautiful house is the sitting room. And this has been designed by Jimmy Thompson. Jimmy, tell me, this room I find is absolutely fascinating because it doesn't look designerish and formal the way so many rooms do. How have you achieved that?
Well, I've used a mixture of furniture and antiques and modern things.
The thing that I find interesting is all the soft furnishing, because most people in a room like this would have 3-piece, 4-piece suite. You've got a whole range of fabrics here. Now, why have you done that?
Well, I've made a mixture of things. One, a sitting group round the fire, which is covered in a traditional chintzy fabric, but in a soft cotton, with tartan cushions on it and a taffeta.
But you've got something quite different over here.
Well, this is the man's chair, so I didn't want to have him in flowers, so I made him in a nice check, nice cotton check.
And over here, you've got bright blue.
Yes, well, that's another seating group, and that's in a very reasonable fabric, and it's a plain blue, and I put a big fringe on it to stop the heel marks on men's shoes.
Oh,
if
that's
you don't
clever.
polish them properly, you get this tide mark along the front.
But this seating group, one of the great features of it is this table, which looks beautiful, but I don't think everybody could afford something like this.
Well, it's not very expensive. It's very good reproduction, and it's about £570. which for the quality of it, it's beautifully inlaid
Yes.
with 3 different
It
woods.
looks a lot more expensive, doesn't it?
A lot more expensive.
But now, down here, you said at the beginning that you'd got both antique and modern. That's modern, isn't it?
Yes, this is a modern lacquer table, and with a lapis simulated top and lacquer sides.
Now, that looks to me just like the sort of thing which somebody who was a good do-it-yourselfer could make themselves, could they?
Oh yes, quite easily. The fret bit might be hard, which is gilded, but you could just do the basic table and have it lacquered.
That's a good idea. Is there anything else in here that you think somebody could very easily do for themselves cheaply and inexpensively?
Well, the side tables are lacquered again. They're copies of papier-mâché ones. But you could get an old tray and put that on the stand.
Right.
This table here.
Something like this?
And I've used a very modern vase on it with just simple flowers cut and plonked in. I think that's a look that people could do themselves.
But this room, how much did it actually cost you?
About 45,000.
£45,000.
Yes. Well, the antiques are very expensive. I've used in the room.
Well, it's shown to very good effect. This delightful dining room was designed by Monica Apruni. Monica, how did you come to design a room like this using English fabrics? Because to me, this is the one room that hasn't got an English feel.
I wanted to sort of create a room where everyone could feel very relaxed and happy, and it didn't have to be necessarily English, although they're English fabrics, because I used French prints and continental furniture, although they are designed by English people, but they're based on French furniture. And I think this is how it all came about.
The thing that you seem to manage to do here is to create rather a country atmosphere with things like these eggs, while still having an urban environment. Was that deliberate?
Yes, because I wanted to make it really comfortable and relaxed atmosphere. For me, interior design is a lot about creating an atmosphere, which you can do with a lavender pot, which you can even fill yourself. It's very easy. It's just creating a level for you where you feel comfortable or not.
But can one honestly sit underneath this lovely candelabra with the candles and not have wax dripping on one's head?
Yes, you can, because the wax is being picked up by the dishes underneath the candle. But if you would find it too troublesome to climb up and down every day, you can have it wired and put it on a dimmer and have exactly the same effect.
But that's just one of the objects which in this room, which I think you could probably find if you went out on a Sunday looking around junk shops and antique shops and so on. I can imagine somebody going out for a walk on a Sunday, finding and picking up. Is that the case?
Yes. Yes, that is the case, and I believe in it, because I believe that in order to make your home your own personal home, you have to sort of collect over the years things you like, and they don't have to be things of value. They just have to create, again, the atmosphere you want to have. It doesn't really matter what you put in, as long as you love it, and you love to look at it, and you want to pick it up.
Annabel Hall, broken arm and all, headed the team which designed this really very luxurious bedroom. And Annabel, I gather the first problem that you had to overcome was getting the ceiling to look decent.
Yes, when you walk in through the door over there and look towards the windows, the whole of the top third of the windows is taken away by that ugly steel joist which goes across it.
I noticed that you've chosen a brilliant golden yellow, and you've also chosen a glazed cotton which reflects backlight. Was that because this was a dark room?
I think the use of colour was very essential in this room. A lot of people, I think, tend to make a mistake in using very pastel shades in a dark room.
What about the problem of an ugly view? Because this room hasn't got a good view.
Well, I
An
think
awful lot
you'll
of houses
see
haven't.
that the use of or I hope you think that the design of the curtains is original and different. Instead of doing pelmets and curtains which drew round the entire bay, we did dress curtains which are held back, as you see, by this rosette of chintz, which just makes the curtain look graceful and lovely, draped onto the floor in rather a theatrical fashion. And then we've used blinds, which you can pull down for privacy, with drapes on each side of them, which I think is quite unusual.
And curtains pulled back that look like, really, right, like Edwardian skirts, don't they, in the back?
Yes, well, I think you ought to be a bit simple in the bedroom.
Well, we're now in a room which is one of my personal favourites because it really has the period flavour which belongs to the house. For example, the designer has used these nice old-fashioned taps, which rather remind me of my childhood. And then this piece in the corner, reproduction, but you can quite easily find something like this in a whole lot of antique shops, and it doesn't have to be very expensive, because it's not a prime piece. Little decorative finished touches here, all these objects nicely arranged have made it look fun, and they're just inexpensive old books. These curtains, now a lot of tiebacks are really rather hard and boring and quite difficult to make, but these are just done like the sash on a child's dress. So anyone who can do a bit of home dressmaking could make a tieback like this for a pair of curtains, and they're very pretty. So all in all, you have a room which is not both the smallest room in the house and the ugliest, as so often happens. Now, if any of you would like to look round this room and all the rest here, the house is open to the public until the 7th of October for the price of a catalogue, that's £5. But for the moment, I think it's time to have the house to myself. So, if you'll excuse me, goodbye.
Oh, be still my envious heart. If you want to go along to that £1 million dream home, the address is 44 Edgerton Gardens, South Kensington. That's 44 Edgerton Gardens, South Kensington in London. Now then, I have to tell you that food and drink are going to be a major topic, an obsession on this morning over the coming months. Susan Brooks, who you'll probably remember from On the Market, the food programme.
Hello, Richard.
You're going to be our guide, aren't you?
I am indeed. I think it's a big and important subject, and we'll be doing food items most days.
Right, what are we going to see? Give some examples.
Well, on Fridays, towards the weekend, most people do most of their shopping. So on Fridays, we'll be telling you about good value buys, and then I'll be giving you some ideas and a recipe of ways in which you can cook those things.
Right.
On Thursdays, as a real treat, I get to go out to lunch with somebody who's perhaps a famous person that we didn't know cooked, or somebody who is a professional cook. And again, we pick up some tips from them and see how they work at home.
And you'll be looking as well, won't you, at really where we should be going to shop, right?
I think that's quite important. There's a lot of variety.
Which, in fact, is the subject of Sue's first film. You've been to Halifax, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
Let's see Sue on the market in Halifax.
Where do you do your shopping? In a supermarket or in a market? Which do you think's the best value and which is the most fun? Which is quickest? We've come to Halifax to compare supermarket shopping with the old-fashioned market up the road. Let's see which is best. This is one-stop shopping. Fine if you've got a car and can only shop once a week. Most things are wrapped and you serve yourself. You can select your own fruit here, but not your own cheese because it's all pre-packed. What if you only want to buy 2 ounces? You know, supermarkets haven't just pioneered convenient and very quick shopping. They also sell a range of things like natural yogurt and low-fat milks, which are very good for healthy eating. Right, I think that's it. I've got everything on my list, and I managed not to be tempted into getting things not on my list, which can be a problem. I'm going to make a shepherd's pie, and I've got some things for sandwiches, some fruit and veg. Let's go and see how we do down the market. And no matter how quick you are getting round, there's nearly always a queue when you get to the till. But at least this one doesn't have racks of sweets. The kids always used to pester for those while you're waiting.
Go on, get a banana buying now. Can I pound of bananas right now? 38 cents. Go on, anybody else now buying your plate, girls?
What are these? Fish. Fish? There's a lovely friendly atmosphere on this market, though you don't get much choice in groceries. On the other hand, they'll cut you fresh as much or as little cheese as you want. Can I have half a pound of this bacon, please?
How thick would you like it cut in?
Fairly middling, medium. Thanks. Not bad, there's more choice and you get a nice friendly butcher.
We've got 20 pence for the collie. We've got 5.50 on next week. Grapes 25, tomatoes 25. Come on, we'll take 30 a pound.
I bought 400 grams of cream biscuits at the supermarket. Here they're still in pounds and ounces. I'll have 3/4 of assorted creams, please, love. I'd like more of the chocolatey ones. It's much more fun choosing them down here. Now look, when I'm buying my apples on the market, how do I know the ones I'm getting are the ones I see out here and not some others from underneath?
They're the same, they're exactly the same underneath as they are on top. We keep filling up from underneath onto the top. There's no difference at all.
Why do people come on the market to buy the fruit and veg?
Because it's a lot cheaper than go to supermarkets, isn't it? It's got to be. They buy these straight from docks. They don't have to go through what middlemen, so it's cheap to buy from us out than go to the supermarket.
Come on. Is it fresher?
It's a lot fresher because they go most days, you know, and buy it most days, so you're buying it same day as we're buying it.
Where do you do your shopping?
I buy my veg from here, my meat from here, and just tin stuff and stuff like that from the supermarket, what I can't buy from here.
Well, the atmosphere in the market's nicer, but the supermarket's more convenient. You just go in, get everything.
Do you ever go to a supermarket? Yes, sometimes, but not for fruit and veg.
Why do you come here for fruit and veg?
Well, where you get the best buy down here. It's cheaper than anywhere else, I think.
Can you tell me where you do your food shopping?
I don't.
Well, don't you eat?
My wife does it.
You're a male chauvinist, aren't you?
Well, I'm sorry, it's just easier for her to do it on a Friday, you see.
Do you ever go to a market?
Not very often, no.
Why?
Well, it's just carrying the shopping with the kids.
Well, there's my shopping done at last, and I have to say that there's finally not much in it on the price. The supermarket, £7.58, up on the market, £7.35. Market's probably better value on fruit and veg, and it's a very friendly atmosphere and a lot of fun. Supermarket's better for groceries and for dairy products. Surprisingly though, the eggs were 24p cheaper, exactly the same type of eggs, on the market. So, I suppose you pays your money and you takes your choice.
I have to say, Sue, that it looked very closer than I expected, but the market's obviously a lot more fun, isn't it?
Well, I enjoyed it.
All right, Sue, thanks very much indeed. We'll see lots more of Sue over the next few months. And now we'd like to ask you for your help. This Friday and every Friday after that, This Morning is going to Hollywood. This week we'll be on the set of Dynasty. It's the first time ever that a European television crew has been allowed to film rehearsals actually in progress. And we'll be talking to the stars, Blake Carrington, that of course is John Forsyth in real life, and Sable from the Colbys, that's Stephanie Beecham, who's joining the new series. Now, what would you like us to ask them on your behalf? Well, ring us now on 051 555 1000. That's 051 555 1000. It's a number you're going to get to know over the next few weeks. And who knows, on Friday, those stars could be answering your question right here on This Morning. OK, well, we're going to take another short break, but we're back in just a moment with Mr. Paul Nicholas. And, of course, that phone-in on Working Mothers. So stay with us, don't go away.
Welcome back, and it's coffee time now, and I'm joined this morning by Paul Nicholas, and I saw you last night on It'll Be All Right in the Night.
Was I good?
You were brilliant. There were a lot of bleeps, I'll tell you that. I think it was a take, one of your takes for Bust, I think.
Yeah.
You got it wrong, and you made rather a
Did I make a rude word and they bleeped me out?
Very rude word.
I'm sorry about that.
But I think what most people know you best for, obviously, is Vince in Just Good Friends.
Yeah.
Is that you? I mean, are you really like him?
No. I think like every actor, every performer, you bring a little of yourself to a part because you have to make it real for yourself. But I'm nothing like Vince. I'm married with 4 kids. You've got 4 kids.
I have got 4 kids, yes,
and,
indeed.
I'm a family man, really.
You sound the same, though. You've got the same accent and everything.
I think Vince was a little bit more common than me, just a little.
Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you.
No, you didn't insult me.
Yeah.
You didn't insult me. No, I guess Vince is perhaps more like me 20 years ago. Really, I was a bit more like him when I was a single, free-loving man. But now I'm a married man. I'm nothing like him at all.
To ask you about your children, you've got this very large gap between 2 sections of your family, haven't you? Rather like me, you've got 2 grown-up children, basically.
Yeah, I've got a boy of 18 and a girl of 20, and I've got a young boy of 8 and a young girl of 2.
2, so that's sort of a second family, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing about having children late is that you have more time for them. I think you learn from when you're a young parent, still trying to make way for yourself in the world, and you perhaps haven't got as much time for your kids as you should. When you're older, you're a bit more mature and you understand perhaps more how to deal with them, and I enjoy them a lot.
But didn't you find it hard?
And they also keep you young.
Yeah, I think that's true, actually. Yes, I agree with you. But it is hard, don't you find? I certainly found it hard, starting again with all the nappies and the nighttime wakenings and things.
I guess it gets hard as you get a bit older to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do the feed and all that stuff. I try to get out of that. I didn't do that very often, I must be honest, just because my wife is looking. But I don't mind changing the nappies and things. I mean, my little girl is just about coming out of nappies now, and but I quite like all that. I've never been opposed to that particularly. It's all part of it, you know, watching them grow. I enjoy it.
Absolutely. What do you think you really are? Don't you ever get a bit schizophrenic? I mean, you're a straight actor and a comic actor. You've done a lot of musicals. You make hit records. How do you think of yourself?
Well, I think it's a very good idea to... I mean, if you have a talent for singing and if you enjoy doing comedy acting, if you can use all those things, if you can utilise those things, when one area dries up for you, say if a TV sitcom doesn't run for you anymore, then you can go to the theatre and do a show or something. So it's good to... they're all walking away. They're obviously bored. They're all bored out of their minds.
It's very busy here.
I hope you're not bored at home.
No, they're all watching with deep interest.
But I think the thing is that if you can diversify, it really gives you more options in terms of work. That's what I'm trying to say.
But no, in fact, you've been... people tend to think of you as, since you were Vince, you're sort of an overnight success. Certainly everybody got very familiar with you. But actually, you've been in show business for years, since you were 16, isn't it?
Yeah, I started off really as a rock and roll piano player for a guy called Screaming Lord Sutch, who now is running the Raving Loony Monster Party.
That's right.
So I started off in a very high company. And really went through a series of musicals. I started in here, played Jesus and Jesus Christ Superstar, then went into hit records. And as you say, I did a lot of work, but it really wasn't until I did Vince and Just Good Friends, when you actually reach people in their homes with something that's very popular, that you become sort of nationally known. So that was gratifying, but it was good in a way because I'd had a lot of experience, so that when that success came, it sort of didn't go to my head. I understood it a bit more, and you know, I just took it in my stride, really.
And you're still making records, aren't you? You've just brought up...
Yes, I've got are we going to show the people at home? Can I show them?
Yes, you can.
Because it's like a Christmas present. This is a new record called The Music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. As you can see, his name is very big. My name is here, Paul Nicholas and Stephanie Lawrence and various other people. And it's with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and it's basically the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Right.
And it would make a lovely Christmas gift. In fact, I'm going to give this one to you at the end of the show.
Really?
Yes.
You can autograph it for my kids, that's terrific. Well, you've got your plug-in, I'm very glad.
Oh, I'm sorry, was that too overt? I didn't mean it to be.
No, but you're back on our screens, aren't you, this weekend as well in Bust?
Yeah, with a new series of Bust starts at...
You just got that in. Terrific. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. I'm sorry, got to go. Richard.
He's a very nice man. Now then, we've had, endless calls after our film item about childcare and, of course, whether mothers should work or not. Now, we've got with us Vicky Walden. She's a principal clinical psychologist at a general hospital, and she's joined us to help answer some of the points. Hello, Vicky, and thanks for coming along this morning. First of all, do you have children yourself?
I do, yes.
How many?
Tom, 8, and Anna, 6.
Right, and obviously you have to combine working with them.
Yes.
How do you do that? Do you have childcare or what?
I've been lucky in that my own mother can look after them. I just work mornings, and it's worked out very well
So
that way.
you leave in the morning, your mother takes over, and you
Well,
come
I
back
take
in the
them there.
afternoon. Oh, I
Or
see.
I used to. They're at school now.
Right, so they see quite a lot of you then.
Yes.
Was that a conscious decision? Did you feel that it was important that your children shouldn't be deprived of you for a whole day?
I think I was lucky in that I was able to negotiate part-time work, and that's worked very well for me.
Right. Just one thing before we take our first call. It seems to me, from obviously my own personal experience and talking about it endlessly with Judy, that it's guilt that's the biggest problem for a woman who goes out to work. However well she organises the childcare, you can't quite expunge that feeling of guilt, can you?
It's just that feeling that somehow you ought to be there, and I think that does eventually go. That if you give it time, the working makes that go, that you get over that initial feeling of guilt.
Well, that's a comforting forecast. Let's take our first call now. This is Jennifer Fairhurst. Hello, Jennifer, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hello, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Greenock in Scotland.
Right, and what's your point? What would you like to ask?
Well, over the years since I've left school, I've took various jobs, and I've never really felt fulfilled. And since I left work to have my baby, since I've had the baby almost 6 months ago, I've toyed with the fact over the years of trying nursing. Well, I feel that my child is encouraging me to better myself, to go out and learn how to be a nurse and leave my child with someone else. Would it have an effect, even though he's the one that's pushing me in a way?
Yes. Can you just repeat the last part of the question there, Jennifer? Because we couldn't, I'm sure the viewers could hear you, but we have a bit of noise in the studio. We couldn't quite catch it. Can you just repeat the last part of your question?
Well, I'm saying that it's for the fact that I want to go and be a nurse. It's my little boy, the influence of him coming along has helped me to make this decision.
I see.
Would it have any effect on him, me going out to learn to do this job?
Do you think it would have any effect, Vicky?
I missed the first part of that.
Simply that she goes out to work?
Yeah. Well, I think she's just got to try it and give it time and see how she manages to get on with the working and how the child adapts.
Yes, you see, I mentioned the guilt as far as, you know, the mother's feelings is concerned, but obviously there's the other half of it, which is what is happening to my child when I leave the child at home. And Jennifer, what sort of childcare have you got arranged for your little one?
Well, I haven't had any arranged so far, but there are various childminders in the area whom I know personally and seem very capable.
Yes.
It's just the fact that, you know, there's so much pressure on a mother to be at home and look after her child, which I thought in the beginning was right, but now I feel I have to fulfil myself as well as my child.
But just before Vicky comes in, who do you feel under pressure from, Jennifer? From your friends or from your family or what?
From society, actually.
How can Jennifer sort of come to terms with those pressures, which she obviously do exist?
I think if she makes arrangements that she feels happy with, if she tries to ensure the consistency and the quality of the care, that she chooses someone who she feels has a genuine interest in her child and will look after him or her, then that's all she can do.
All right, Jennifer, is that any help?
Yeah, I suppose so.
I know, it's almost insoluble, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
I do sympathise. Can we take another call now? This is Anne Warburton, who's calling from Bradford. Hello, Anne.
Hello.
What's your question?
Well, I went to work to try and make my two girls a bit more independent, and at where I worked, they had a crash, and I worked there a week, and when I went back to pick them up on a Monday, my eldest girl was in a room by herself with a stepladder, and my youngest girl was crying her eyes out. There was two women looking after 4 children, and obviously I couldn't, you know, leave my children to be looked after.
So what did you do? What did you do?
Well, I phoned the owner and told her what I thought about that.
But that leaves you with a problem. How have you coped with that? Have you got someone else to look after the kids?
No, well, see, my mother lives in Texas, so there's no point in trying to get the grandparents to look after them. So I stay at home now.
This is a
but
story.
It had a reverse effect on my eldest girl. She makes, you know, she's
Yes.
a bit more dependent on me now than when she was before.
Sure. We sympathise, don't we, Judy? We hear so
Yes.
many stories like that.
Absolutely, and in fact, your sister, Richard's sister, was in a pretty bad situation with a childminder in the same way, and it does terrible things to you, doesn't it? When you realise that that's what's been going on. I mean, it brings all the guilt back, and you feel that you've virtually murdered your child.
Oh, I know it. It was horrible because when I went to pick her up, it looked like Jade, my oldest one, had been yelled at because she wouldn't even come to me.
Oh, dear. Again, I mean, Vicky, if you do have a bad experience with somebody who's looking after your children, whether it's a nanny or childcare or a childminder or whatever, do you think it does cause lasting damage? Because clearly Anne's a bit worried about that.
Yeah, obviously it's a devastating experience at the time. I think what Anne needs to do is to try and find somewhere else, to try it again and hope that the quality of care is better the second time around.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole thing should
As
be
long as it
scrubbed.
doesn't go on for a long time. No.
Right. So
Children are very resilient. They do bounce back, and if you get it right, then
All right, Anne, remember,
you'll
you've
be
got a
all right.
rubberised child and give it another go. I think that's the advice.
All right, thank
All right,
you.
thanks a lot for calling. We've got Jane Swanson on now from Bangor in North Wales. Hello, Jane.
Hello.
Hello, what's your question?
Northern Ireland, actually. Not North
Oh,
Wales.
I was told North Wales. All right, Northern Ireland. Sorry,
Tell
go
by the
on.
accent.
What's the question?
I actually didn't want to ask a question. I wanted to talk as an ex-working mum. I gave up work about 6 months ago because of feelings of guilt, basically. And I would like to say that there's a lot of criticism of working mums, and I think basically the best place for a mum is where she's most comfortable. And I don't mean that from a selfish point of view. I mean that it's going to reflect positively on her children and on her husband. We forget husbands. I mean, a mother's going to be happier. And I think the decision boils down to the mother. And if the children get lots of cuddles and are secure, I think they're going to be okay. And I really think we're putting an awful lot of onus on mums who feel they want to work.
I agree with you totally, Judy.
I agree so much. I mean, there's so much misery and loneliness and boredom and frustration at home among women who actually really do need other people. They do need that kind of contact with people. I do quite agree with you, and I don't think it's going to do anybody's child any good if a mother stays at home unwillingly. I think if she can actually go out to work and come back and our children are going to be happier, everybody's going to be happier. Don't you agree?
Yes, I do, absolutely. The quality of time that you can give them at home if you're fulfilled yourself is so much better than the grudging time you'll give them if you've been bored all day.
Yes.
The one proviso is that you, for your own sake, as well as your child's, have to be absolutely certain that the childcare you've organised is treating your children well and is the best thing that you can possibly manage or afford. Don't you think?
That's it.
Yes, Jane, sorry to cut you off, but that was an excellent point. Very well made. Thank you very much indeed. Now we have a gentleman on the line. I don't know your name, sir. Could you speak now?
We don't have a gentleman on the line.
We don't have a gentleman on the
He's
line.
disappeared.
No, never mind. He must have probably agreed with what Jane said and gone away. Just very, very quickly before we have to leave this subject, and we could go on all morning about it, Vicky. What would be the basic checkpoints you would say that a mother who's considering going to work ought to run through in her mind? Obviously, the quality of the childcare.
Yes, the quality of the childcare. The committedness of the carer to her particular child. I would want to see them together for a while and to see how the child got on with them and what was going to be provided during the time that the child was there.
And obviously to think it through and make sure that all the priorities in the head are right, you know, before you actually jump and do it.
To think very hard about the time that you are going to spend with the child when you get home as well.
Right. Thank you very much indeed, Vicky. Judy.
Yes, very interesting. But we are going to take a break now, but we will be back very soon with our garden. We're doing a lot with it. It's pretty unusual. We've got great plans for it. Back in a minute.
Welcome back, and thank you all very much again for making those phone calls. Another phone-in, of course, tomorrow. This time I think it's going to be about mortgages and houses. Now then, anybody who has a garden knows just how much work is involved in keeping it barely tidy, let alone up to Percy Thrower standards. Now, Judy and I hit the perfect solution by laying our entire back garden to lawn. One more month and you're laughing, but gardens in towns or city centres can be a real problem. They're often tiny and tatty backyards with those sort of scrubby patches of dusty grass and rubble. Now, if you own one of those, fear not, because over the next few weeks, we're going to show you how you can tame and control the scruffiest of gardens and create something that really is delightful. Here it is.
Oh, hello. Hey, they found us at last. Well, I'm Tony Arthur, and this is Tim Newbury.
Hi.
Well, this garden here is rather, well, it's a mess, really. It's a garden at the back of a terraced house in a row of very different gardens, some of which are very well established. It's precisely because it's a sorry-looking garden like this, isn't it, that we're here. And we're going to make it into a really smart town garden, aren't we?
We certainly are.
Right, but what exactly is a town garden? Well, it can be anything from, now Tim's told me all this, a windowsill with a window box, to a kitchen herb garden, to a pocket handkerchief-sized lawn with flower beds, that's right, isn't it? It can be a patio with tubs, or with a small area for the barbecue, or a balcony with hanging pots, or, as you've just come down, an alleyway wall with climbing plants. Everything, in fact, that makes gardening challenging and rewarding and fun. Yeah, we're not going to be talking in mumbo-jumbo or in Latin, because knowing Latin name for an African violet won't make your fingers any greener. By the way, Tim, what is the Latin name for an African violet?
Actually, it's a St. Paulier.
Fine, we'll forget all about that now. But anyway, knowing what to plant and where can be invaluable. Did you know, for instance, and Tim told me this, that growing a privet hedge at the front of your house will cut down the noise from the street as well as the pollution? So no more loud smells, only soft fragrances. It's a joke, Tim, right. It'll be our personal view of gardening, and we'll be sharing pointers with you such as the tools we can't do without, the various ways we grow, sow and look after plants, and how it's possible to create the most incredible effects by using a simple plan of action. Okay then, so let's start. What is all this? It looks such a mess, doesn't it? What is that, real plant?
Yes, this is a buddleia, or butterfly bush. Here's the old flower head. Those are the old seed pods.
That's the one the butterflies go to?
Yes,
They
right.
actually... That's so clever.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, there's a little bit of flower over here.
Yeah.
Still on. Another week earlier, we might have got a bit more on it. This really should be pruned hard in the spring, ideally. But bearing in mind we've got the alleyway down the back here, it might be nice to keep a bit of height to screen it.
I always think pruning's a bit hard, sort of cutting away all those lovely flowers, but it's good for it.
It is, yes, yes.
What about all this stuff here? Look. I mean, there's masses of it. What is it?
Right, we've got bindweed here, which is a very nasty weed.
Yeah.
And will quickly take over your garden.
Well, it's choking off everything, isn't it?
That's right, but if you look closely, you'll see that we've actually got...
Oh, it's a real
something different.
plant.
That's right, and that's
Yeah.
a forsythia.
Gosh, so that's okay.
Yes.
That's the one with the little red flowers that all hang down.
No, actually it has yellow flowers. If you look over here closely, you'll see we've actually got a couple out for us.
That's very encouraging, because if that's out, that means that forsythia?
That's right, yes.
It's trying to live, so it's okay.
It's certainly worth saving. We'll make an effort for it.
What about saving things? Have you seen the state of this lawn? This lawn is a bit naff, to say the least, isn't it?
It's a bit rough, yes.
Yeah, look. Dog ends, tufts, bare patches, and what's this? What's that?
Dandelions. Good for rabbits.
Good for rabbits, but not very good for me. Okay. Can you save the lawn?
Yes, we can save it. We need to do a bit of work on it, but
Yeah.
it'll make the thing look very nice
I
at the
just
end of the
tidied
day.
it up, really.
Yes. While you're at it, can you move that RSJ out of the way for me?
RSJ, that's lovely. Fine. Oh! I think you were actually joking. You was joking. I'll just check. You were joking, weren't
I was
you?
joking.
Thank you. That's really heavy. And what's all this over here? Some
Right.
stuff, isn't it?
Well, yes, we've got the friend the bindweed again. We've also got brambles.
The brambles, I mean, are brambles more of a problem because they've got really deep roots, haven't they?
They're quite deep-rooted, but we can tackle them in the same way as the bindweed and get rid of both at the same time, hopefully.
With the same stuff?
Yes.
Okay. And then the wall?
Well, the wall...
I like this wall. I think it's very pretty.
Yes, I thought you might, but it's not very practical.
Right.
Because if I'm at the back, if we put any small plants in, we're not going to be able to see them because of the wall.
Yeah. So why don't you fill it up with soil?
Well, we can do that, but then we're going to rot the fence because the soil will be against the fence.
And remember, it may not be your fence that you're rotting. What about this here? I mean,
Yes.
this is just so ugly.
It's very nasty, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of old concrete and blockwork.
Yeah, but I mean, that looks good. Is
Yes,
that okay?
that's worth saving. Whether we use it in this bed or elsewhere in the garden, we'll decide later. It's
Yeah.
certainly quite a nice plant.
I wonder what this used to be. It looks as if it might, looks as if it might have been an old bath. Terrific. Right, hey, if you look over there, it probably was a bath. Look, because there is the outside loo. Is that right?
Yes. Well, I think it was. I
What are
never
you
used
gonna-
it.
Are you going to cut it down? I mean, chop it down?
No, I think it's useful to keep storage space. You know what you've got to do in the garden. Where are you going to put your lawnmower and things?
It's better than keeping them indoors, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And what about this? They had a thing, whoever built this garden had a thing about walls. Look at this and all this again.
That's right, there's a lot of bricks there.
Yeah.
Again, I think we can turn it to advantage.
Okay, and look at all this, what did you call this? Bindweed?
Bindweed.
It's a real bind. Look at it, it's gone all the way down, choking absolutely everything. So we've really only got one little bit of garden left, haven't we?
That's
garden. Right. Huh. Great term. What would you call this, loosely?
A very loose patio, I think.
Loose patio. Well, are you going to keep it like this or what?
I think we'll keep it as a patio. We'll obviously need to do a lot of work to tidy it up and make it look attractive.
Get rid of the rubbish first,
Yes,
would be
right.
great.
That'd be a good start.
But what about, there's a window there, so if you're going to make it pretty...
Well, yes, I mean, that's the kitchen window, so we need to have a focal point perhaps outside the kitchen window.
Yeah.
Plants in a pot, perhaps, a climber.
Hide the dustbins?
Yes, yes, we need to hide those.
We've taken in a lot.
We
actually.
have.
Don't you think? Yeah, so we're going to keep some plants, chuck some away, do something with the bricks, tidy up the rubbish. I think it's time for a cup of tea.
It's a good idea.
Okay. After you, sir.
Oh, how kind of.
And that way, you can put the kettle on.
Oh, thanks.
Right, Leslie, tell us what you're going to be looking at over the next few weeks with us.
Well, I'm not one of these elitist fashion editors.
Good.
And I really do enjoy every aspect of it. So I hope everybody's going to come to me with their problems. Because a lot of people say that fashion causes them pain. I actually heard something over the weekend, a big discussion about it being a tyranny of fashion.
Yes. I think I would agree with that, really, yes.
And I find that this is nonsense in my life. And if it's causing you any pain, I want to know about it. I want you to use me, everybody out there, as a kind of personal fashion consultant.
Yes.
And so I'm taking you really through absolutely everything, from winter coats to menswear to children's wear.
Great. And you're going to start off looking at the latest autumn trends.
Well, I thought we're just hitting that moment where they all start coming into the shops. So I thought the best thing to do was to go to something that I really enjoy, and that's sort of window shopping through all our our chain stores,
Yeah.
because they really are a great bonus that we have in this country. They're so good on value.
Before we look at those, what are the main looks for autumn? Because actually they do filter down to the chain stores, but they start with the high fashion designers,
Oh,
don't
absolutely. I mean, we can't leave them out. And in fact, one of our big moments comes next weekend, and I'll be down at Olympia seeing what the big shows, big British designers are going to do. Italy's running at the moment, and hemlines are right up being pelmets again. But the main looks really are the wider trouser, the paisley, the rose prints, lots of flowers around, wrap blouses, red, very rich colours. It's a much more sane season than I've seen for a while.
You mean it's wearable?
It's
We're not all going to
wearable.
look idiots.
No, exactly. You know, there's not a sort of great fashion punch that everybody feels they've got to join in.
Right.
And,
Okay, well, let's have a look at some of the looks that you're actually talking about this autumn, and you can talk us through it.
Yeah,
okay?
certainly.
Let's see what we've got.
Now here you see I got our first outfit from Next, and you see what I mean about red. The jacket is much shorter, it's very much more fitted, and underneath there's a wrap blouse. Now that's very important, that's very new this season. And there's the rose print that I was talking about, the floral, in a shawl. Shawls are one of the most marvellous things to buy, they're a great investment. And leather gloves, strangely enough, just a small thing, but can sharpen up, make you really look as if you know what's doing. I love this fish. It looks like Corky the cat's fish. It's something that's, you know, one of those novelty items that really catches the eye, and good talking point. Now shoes are interesting. All the stiletto heels have gone, and we've got these funny little sort of toilet bowl looking heels, which I don't know that everybody's going to love. But you see the short skirt, it's marvellous. Now the country look, everyone's gone barber mad. You will find them in British home stores, you'll find them for children, and this is an extension of it. This is a corduroy suit. It's made by French Connection, so it makes it a very good price, and it's sold through Phoenix. And I've mixed a Phoenix brocade waistcoat with it. This is another little fashion item that you can pick up on as a sort of a seasonal thing. You might even have them in the attic. It might have belonged to Dad or Grandpa or something like that. And here are the Aran socks and the walking boots. Now, walking boots are really meant for walking, but for some reason they found their way into chic shops like Ballet, who stock this pair. And the jodhpur look.
Not sure about that.
No, the jodhpur look is a knickerbocker in this case. But this is taking the country look to an extreme. Now, this is from BHS, who have done the most amazing revamp on their fashion floor. And I think this looks like a high fashion item. I think this looks very Ralph Lauren. The paisley print and the little lace touch. And a lot of people could do that lace look just by going to the haberdasher. So you could add it to something that you had already. Again, the fitted waist, and this is the longer skirt. And a marvellous pair of flat suede boots that really do go right up to the knee. I do hate those boots that end up somewhere just over your calf for only $29.99. So I think that is a particularly good fashion item. Finally, I went a bit mad here. There's a French look at the moment for wearing leather bikers jackets. They're very expensive. And so I've chosen the nylon one. And this is the corset look, which good old Jean-Paul Gaultier, who everyone talks about in the younger stream, has been pushing. This is luminous lime green. It's only £10. If you want to stop a room, that's how to do it.
I'll say.
And there are our fish again. This is a very good idea. This is just a little digital item in the middle of a silver bracelet. It's taking fashion jewellery into the watch area very succinctly. And there's a new, very exaggerated, very young, zippy look.
Leslie, thank you very much. They were all very wearable, well, with one or two exceptions.
Well, maybe the last one.
And very affordable, which is a major point.
Yes, nothing was over £60.
Right, yes. What do you think about that, Richard? Did you like those?
I liked it very much. I was deeply distressed, I have to say, to hear you say that stilettos are going out. I mean, no. I know that a section of women watching will say they should, you know. But honestly, I think that stilettos look really nice, and toilet bowls are no replacement.
No, I do agree with you. Now, I have to say that I'm wearing high-heeled shoes, and I'll show you why. Because in this case, this is the Marks & Spencer's outfit that I chose, and I wanted to show you the trousers. So I'll just stand up and show you. You see the width of those trousers?
Yes.
Yeah. That is the new width, and this is a longer jacket tunic that I already had, and the sharp intake of the waist, which is terribly important. Now, you see, with a pair of trousers like this, although everybody says you should be wearing flats, I think it's very hard.
I agree. Actually, there's a fine. I thought the wider trousers were actually going to be much wider than that. Those are quite elegant. They're not sort of hugely...
No, they're not bags, are they? No. I think that's the thing about fashion. You see, by the time it filters down to Marks & Spencer's, it's actually something a little more wearable.
It is wearable, yes. Yeah. I thought most of that was, though, didn't you?
Yes, apart from that sort of little corset thing. I can't see very many people leaping out to get that.
I think you have to be about 18 to wear that, frankly.
Yes. This barber idea, the idea of... I mean, are we all suddenly becoming very slownish, very yuppie? Is it a reflection of that, a general upmarket trend, do you think?
Yes, it is. I think that it's really rather a strange thing. I can't see people dressing for the country, although people are taking it very seriously. As I say, Marks & Spencer's British Home sort of got very heavy country looks in there.
It's funny, you talk about the yuppie thing. We were talking last night, we'd seen a few adverts, and a lot of adverts these days, especially the coffee ones, as you were saying, have this yuppie feel to it. All the actors in them are dressed in yuppie clothes, so fashion's extending that way as well, isn't it?
Well, you see, I think they can't ignore them because they're the people with the money.
Yes.
So they're appealing to them. Now, how they ever got into the city wearing a barber, that really, I think, is very strange. Yeah. But it is, I suppose, a distinctive label, and these yuppies really love labels, and that's where it's all come from. And so they think, well, they're the role model. Let's give it to everyone, so the chain stores come in.
Exactly. The question will arise whether people who are not yuppies want to look like them. I mean, maybe they won't all flock off to Marks & Spencer's to buy barbers.
No. Well, that's what's so lovely about fashion. It's really broad, you know. I mean, if you don't want to join in, you don't have to. Yeah. You know, I feel that that's another area of where people shouldn't be taken in.
Well, Leslie, I'll very much look forward to seeing you in the rest of the series. Thanks very much for today. That's about it this morning for Monday anyway. We hope you've enjoyed it. We have, haven't we?
It's been absolutely terrific. I had a great time, really have. And we're back, of course, tomorrow at 10:40, when we'll have the singer Barbara Dixon with us, singing from the musical Blood Brothers and introducing us to her 2-year-old son, who's on tour with her, which sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
No, I think it sounds awful, frankly. I couldn't bear it.
All right, it probably is. Anyway, our financial consultant, Anne Ashworth, will be here as well tomorrow with a few tips on how to cope with the mortgage increases. She'll answer questions that you have on our phone line. Here we go again, 051 555 1000. Those lines are open from 9:30 tomorrow, and you can find the number in the TV Times.
And I'll be talking to the Jackson family, and in particular to Matthew Jackson. He's a remarkable little boy who suffers from cerebral palsy, and tomorrow we'll hear how his family refused to give up and wouldn't accept that he would never lead a normal life. I think that's about it.
That's it. Thank you for watching this morning.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.